So there it goes. Back to you, Ivona.
Let me just quickly share my slides. I hope you are all well. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome to Global Gateway program, and thank you for joining our session on website and digital content localization. So my name is Ivona, and together with my team at PAB, we specialize in cross-cultural communication strategies. We help businesses and brands to overcome language and cross-cultural barriers so that they can build meaningful relationships and partnerships beyond borders. And we are trusted by private sector and public sector organizations from across the East Midlands and beyond. We became a trusted partner to deliver workshops, webinars, talks, and recently a pre-recorded video training, everything about helping organizations reach out to international markets, engage with international audiences, and communicate effectively across cultures. And I know that you are joining this morning because you are planning to engage with international audience, or maybe you want to translate your website or understand how cultural differences can impact your marketing campaign. Or simply, you want to know what to consider when posting content in a foreign market. So let's look at the plan for today. We are going to cover several key aspects of localization. So we will start with real-world examples of what can happen when localization is not done correctly, and the potential impacts on your business. We will also discuss the importance of localization, and we will look into considerations you need to keep in mind when posting content in foreign markets. So during the presentation, of course, feel free to share your comments or any questions using the chat box. I will address them at the end of the session. So at the end of the session, we will have some time for questions and for discussion. So are we okay to move forward?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Perfect. Well, sometimes the world must hear your message. But if your marketing materials aren't persuasive, they won't deliver. So if you are currently working on your digital marketing campaign, then you need to understand how the culture, customs, history, as well as social, economic, and also political situation will impact your global communications. And it has to be considered when translating your website, as well as translating or writing content for your international audience. And as a business person, like many of you, I'm always conscious of the next opportunity for growth. What's next? Where the growth is coming from? But time and time again, I see organizations that don't adapt the way they communicate, they market their products or services to really take advantage of those global opportunities. And translation tends to sound easier than it is. People often think, well, it's just a matter of replacing a source word with the corresponding translated word, the target word. And that's it. You are done. Well, it's not that easy. Translation is much more complicated than that. There can be several ways of saying the same thing in another language. So let me bring some examples about what happens when brands don't fully understand their audience and their cultural filters. Well, let me bring some examples when things go wrong. So the first one from HSBC, when they had to run a rebranding campaign after the damage done when they mistranslated phrase assume nothing to do nothing. Another one from KFC, where they accidentally translated their slogan, finger licking good, to eat your fingers off when they open in Beijing. Another one from Pepsi. When Pepsi introduced their products to the Chinese market, their line, Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave. Well, Procter and Gamble as well. That's where they misinterpreted or either generalized the cultural reference. And Pepsi, HSBC aren't alone in getting their approach to global marketing very wrong. There are endless examples of mistranslations, and unsurprisingly, the internet is, of course, a great place to find all of them. So, failing to adapt your messages about a product or service to different regions and different international audiences will impact your ability to grow business. And this is why we want to professionally localize your digital content. And we want to ensure that your communication resonates culturally with each unique audience. So what is the purpose of website localization? Well, first and foremost, to enhance user experience. Localization helps to ensure that users in different countries, they feel the website is designed, written just for them. We want to also increase market reach. By localizing content, you can reach larger, more diverse audience. Of course, competitive advantage. A well-localized website can set a business apart from competitors. And very important, compliance and legal standards, because certain markets have specific regulations, legal standards that professional localization company or professional localization conducted on your website will help to meet. Why do we do it? Why do we localize? Well, localizing to just 11 languages will help you to speak to 80% of internet users. And also 50% of customers said that they would only buy products from websites that provided them with information in their own language. 90% of people will choose a site in their native language, and 42% will never buy from a site unless information is available in their native language. So, what is localization? Well, website localization involves adapting an existing website to meet the cultural, linguistic, and commercial needs of your target market. So as for the definition of website localization, this is the process of modifying an existing website to make it accessible, usable, and culturally suitable to a target audience in a different geographical region. So this includes translating text, converting currencies, units of measure, adjusting layout to fit translated text, modifying content for those local tastes and consumption habits, and ensuring that local compliance and legal requirements are met. So it is a comprehensive process that really extends beyond translation of a text and includes those various elements like visuals, layouts, and overall user experience. So just to summarize this part, localization involves the process of text translation as well as any or all of the following. So modifying content for habits of your local markets, addressing economic, historical, sometimes political references, adjusting images, icons, colors to that local taste and culture, changing dates, addresses, phone numbers to fit a local format, and converting to local currencies and units of measure. And we will take a different approaches to localization depending on the different types of website. It will really depends on the type of website we're going to localize, what approach we take, and what are the elements we're going to focus on. So if we think about e-commerce websites, the main focus will be on payment options, currency conversions, product localization, product descriptions, and of course, legal requirements for different regions, including data protection. If we think about educational websites, we will focus on the information, the tone, local educational standards, cultural references, and cultural sensitivity. If we think about entertainment websites, again, adapting that content to reflect local cultural norms, like cultural references in stories, anecdotes, jokes, because this will vary widely between cultures. Corporate websites, this is where we ensure that brand consistency. Also, we will have to focus on adapting the tone and formalities to fit within those local business practices and local business expectations. So localization will vary also, of course, by market. So let's think about English to Arabic. Linguistically, translation must respect right to left reading. But culturally, we might have to modify images and content needs to be considered to align with more conservative values in many Arabic-speaking regions. But we also have to remember to ensure that we are not generalizing or basing our conclusions based on stereotyping. Another example, English to German. So culturally, German users like details, like information. So we will have to create more text. We will have to translate more text. But that also means that we might need more space for that text. So we need to adjust the space we have. Technically, well, privacy and data protection are highly regulated in Germany, influencing how user data is managed. So that cultural reference, the preferences, will impact our localization strategies. For instance, color. You can consider, we talked about colors, but for example, if we think about color green, which is associated with Islam and seen positively across many Arabic-speaking countries, we need to remember that it might not hold the same significance in other regions. So let's look deeper into this topic of cultural norms and cultural references. So how well does your content align with cultural norms and values of your target audience? We can say how sensitive to the local cultures is your content. So think about brand name and taglines. How does the name and tagline work or sound when translated? Is direct translation enough? Do you need to go beyond word-for-word translation to create copy that gets the correct essence of the message? And also writing style and tone, whereas in some cultures, a strong selling message is accepted, in others, it might be offensive. And there are a number of cultural differences which will need to be taken into account, like numeric formats. So, of course, numeric formats are not universal and can, in fact, have the opposite meaning depending on the country and language. Local address and telephone formats, again, formats must be adapted so that the end user can easily input their address or telephone number in the format which is used in their country. Calendars, currency, date and time formats. Again, currencies, dates, and times can also have a very different format depending on the country. Metric system, only 3 countries have not officially adapted the metric system, and one of them is the US. Colors. The choice of colors for backgrounds, for example, can send a very different messages out to the end users in different countries. And we explained this at length during our discovery session, which has been recorded. So if you would like to find out more, we will share a link with you. Another consideration when it comes to localization is graphics. Graphics can also mean different things, or even nothing in different countries. For example, graphics with images of animals or body parts may be offensive in some countries. So your company or products can unknowingly portray negative connotations that may irritate, upset, or even offend viewers. So images, graphics needs to be carefully checked and perhaps adjusted to positively reflect your company and your messaging. Icons as well. The meaning of icons may vary significantly from culture to culture. For example, in this country, and we are in England, the thumbs up icon is generally positive. In some cultures, however, this might not be the case. So the use of icons should be checked by a local expert or a linguist to avoid confusion and potentially offending local users. And finally, testing and quality assurance. It is absolutely critical to check translation, to check the translation in context and verify there is a consistency across the website, but also verify website functionality, forms, emails, and automatic notifications. So what options do we have? If you are looking to localize your website, you have a few different avenues to explore, of course, each with their own benefits. And your choice will depend on the depth, complexity of localization needed, your budget, and also the specific markets you are targeting. So we have three main options to share today with you, starting with professional translation and localization services. Like PAB Languages Center, those companies will specialize in translating and localizing content for various markets. They don't just translate the text, but also adapt your website's contents to fit cultural references, local regulations, and market-specific preferences. So they may actually include recommendations about changing the layout to accommodate text expansion. They might suggest on modifying images and design elements to be more culturally appropriate. And they can usually handle everything from market research, but also local SEO research to help you really with that marketing campaign in addition to website localization. Second option is to go to web developers with localization expertise. They will technically adapt your website for different markets. So this can include backend changes for supporting multiple languages, ensuring that your website supports also local formats. I was talking about the dates, currencies, and other formats. And the third solution is AI solution and translation plugins. There are AI-driven translation tools and plugins that can automatically translate your website's content. Those are less accurate than professional translations, to say the least. How it works? Well, AI-driven translation tools use machine learning models. And machine learning models, they have been trained on large data sets of text in different languages. So those tools analyze the text on your website and then generate translations based on the patterns they've learned. So those translations can be integrated into websites either through plugins or APIs, which will then automatically translate the text on your website into various languages. Those tools are generally less expensive, but like I said, you would still need to hire a company like PAB to conduct proofreading, because while AI has made significant improvement, it still struggles with cultural sensitiveness, idiomatic expressions, and technical jargon. So the context can sometimes be misinterpreted, leading to that awkward or actually incorrect translations. So AI tools do not understand cultural context the way human would. AI on its own is risky. Also because incorrect translations in high-risk content, like legal or compliance-related contents, documents, could lead to misunderstanding, but then could lead to some legal consequences. There are lots of talks and noise around AI. I would not recommend using AI translations on its own for high-risk content, like legal documents, compliance requirements, or even a marketing copy that needs to resonate culturally with your target audience. Also, if you think about small targeted campaigns, if you are targeting a specific audience with particular culture, that cultural adaptation of professional translation will be vital there. So moving on to the next theme, we will look at some common pitfalls in the translation process. So what are the common mistakes? Well, the first one is translating word for word instead of transcreating. Also not knowing cultural differences, so neglecting to do the homework and some research. Overlooking compliance requirements, and that can be really critical in places like China, for example. Neglecting to conduct a market research. So with that, what good looks like? What success looks like? Well, understanding your target market is absolutely essential to successfully localize your content. So what should you consider when posting in a foreign market? Well, you need to know what kind of people are you talking to? How do those people talk? What challenges do they have that you want to address? How do they find and choose your products? And what is important to them? In addition to understanding your target client demographics and interests, it is also important to know their behavior. So this means tracking things such as how do they shop, what media they consume, and what trends they follow. So by researching this information, you can gain a better understanding of how to reach them. For example, if you find that your target market is more likely to respond to ads on social media rather than Google search, you might want to focus your marketing efforts there. You can also use this information to create content that is more likely to appeal to them. So if you know that your target market is more likely to consume blog articles rather than video content, then of course produce more blog content. And it's worth considering those questions. Who are you selling to already? Who is your target audience? What is their age group? Where are they located? What kind of people are you talking to? How do those people talk? How do they find you? And how do they choose your products? What do they want from you? How and why do they or will they buy from you? And what aspects of your offer make customers say, whoa, that's brilliant? Right, so let's move to a summary. So first and foremost, understand the legal requirements. Also, consider limitations of machine translation. As we said, automated translations by machine, such as Google Translate, will still leave you with poor translations. Think about wording and overall design, really ensuring that the words that you choose for your products are the words that actually your clients would use to search for. Product name, that's really important, and we've seen numerous examples when organizations got it wrong. Is your product name and slogan suitable for your target market? Does it mean something else in a different language, or it can be associated with a negative meaning? And international SEO, do you have that strategy in place? Do you identify, or have you identified the most appropriate, the most accurate keywords that then your potential customers would be using to search? Okay, now time for questions. So we have any questions? I haven't had a chance to monitor the chat there, but if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. We have something in the chat. No, it's not question.
I have questions about challenges. We talked about the challenges. So what are the most common challenges you face during website localization, and how do you overcome them?
That's a very, very good question. There are several challenges. I think I will bring two challenges. The first one is the customer understanding of what localization is and what it involves, and how much research goes before we actually start localizing. So the importance of our linguists to understand about the target audience, to understand about their potential clients. Sometimes customers are quite conscious of the fact that we are asking all those questions because our linguist needs to know about the target audience for them to then adjust the tone and the style of translation. So that's number one, customer understanding what localization involves. The second one is more technical, and that relates to content management system. So in the past, clients would expect us to copy text from their website and then paste it and translate it, which seems simple, but then if the website is complicated, if the website has different links, or if you have like a carousel on the website, slideshow on the website, by copying and pasting that text, you can face so many risks. You can simply miss the text, or you can copy incorrect text, and also you're missing the context because you are not seeing the layout of every single page. So copy paste might be okay for 2-3 pages website, but not for a complex website. So we would ask clients for the HTML copy, which is the basis of every website, pretty much. And then we could deal with that. But we could also ask clients for different type of files. Again, not often those clients will be familiar then. So the answer will be, well, that's not possible. We don't have access to this. This is our web developers that deal with that. Can't you just copy and paste from our website, which isn't ideal. So I think for us, this is the biggest challenge, and this is the starting point to explain to customers that they have several options. One option is to provide us with access to their content management system. So if we are working with an organization as partners, obviously they have different features that will allow that localization through plugins, and for that translator to have access to that content management system will obviously that require lots of trust as well, because basically we are gaining access to their system. The other option is to export the XLIF file, which is file purely for localization. So I think there's still the biggest challenge we are having is some misperceptions or lack of understanding of actually what resources, what data, and what information we need as an organization to conduct that localization effectively and the best it can be for our clients.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
Okay. So we have any more questions?
I don't have a question because I was agreeing with so many information you said and kept nodding yes. However, I'm wondering, or if I have a question, I would ask, is there a specific country in the world that is asking for localization service more than others? Or a specific language, let's say?
And that's another very, very good question. So if you think about obviously English, which remains the most widely spoken language worldwide, there are, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, there are just 11 languages. So if we localize into those 11 languages, this is really a good starting point for organizations to reach out, like 80% proportion of the global population. So from the most popular languages, or amongst those 11 languages, would be Mandarin, would be Spanish, Hindi, Arabic. Those would be the languages that are widely spoken after English. So we have English, Mandarin, Spanish, Hindi, Arabic. But also we can think about industries. So if we have a customer that is focused on manufacturing industry, I've done lots of discussions around that, then those languages apart from Chinese would be German, French, also Italian and Portuguese. So it really varies and depends on the specific needs of those clients. But I think those 11 languages would be a good starting point for the language selection. But then, of course, geographically, that's another consideration because we can speak Spanish in different countries, but those different countries will have different purchasing behaviors. So language is one, and then, of course, localization is the other choice, very much commercially driven by those customers.
Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much, and I wish you well the rest of your day. Thank you.